Next, Boris Johnson is facing calls to resign after the UK Supreme Court overruled his suspension of Parliament. These calls being led by the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, the Lib Dem leader Joe Swinson, and leader of the Scottish Nationalists, there she is, Nicola Sturgeon. In London, all 650 MPs have been called back for Wednesday, back to work to discuss, guess what, Brexit. Johnson is resisting calls, though, to stand down and still vowing to take the UK out of the EU on October the 31st. All 11 Supreme Court justices agreed that Johnson's controversial prorogation of the House was illegal. Let's bring in Duncan Fairgrieve, a London lawyer who's also a law lecturer here in Paris, and someone, let me tell you, who's been keeping a really close eye on this story. Duncan, always great to see you. First question, can Boris Johnson survive this?
It's a major setback. 11 judges unanimously find that his strategy in relation to this core plank of his approach unlawful, quite a strongly worded judgment delivered by the President and the Vice President. So it's a body blow to him, but he's got a bit of Teflon quality, the Prime Minister, sort of Trumpian quality in a way, and so he has said he won't resign, and I don't think this is going to be the end of the story.
No, I think it's unlikely to go on and on and on. He's saying he's going to take the UK out on October the 31st. But given things like the Brexit delay bill, and given this decision today from the Supreme Court, I mean, how can he say he's going to do that?
He's in a very tight corner now. And I think his only, in inverted commas, escape route is actually to do what he said he's been trying to do for the past few months, which is actually to achieve a negotiated deal with the European Union. But the problem is that the Commission still say that they haven't received formal proposals. They've had the recent non-papers, oxymoron, but they've had some sort of form of documentation from the government. But what they're asking for is a formal position, and I think we probably won't see that until either the start of the Conservative Party conference, whether that's going to go ahead now or not after the Parliament's back in process. But I think he's going for a strategy, a sort of one-shot strategy, where what he'll do is make a proposal at the last minute, and I hope that gets over the line.
It's worth reminding people, I suppose, that the current deal, which was negotiated by Theresa May, which the EU agreed with, is still there, but it's been rejected 3 times by the House of Commons. Yeah. So clearly that one's a non-starter. Yeah. But there's nothing actually come from Boris Johnson and the team that he's got with him, led by the shady figure called Dominic Cummings, the chief advisor at Number 10. I mean, this must raise questions about all those people, mustn't it? Cummings, Rees-Mogg, the whole lot of them. Yeah. And basically all of them need to stand up and think, hang on, what are we doing?
Yeah. They could be the potential fall guys in this scenario. As we said a minute ago, I don't see the Prime Minister resigning. It is possible that one of the close advisors, like Dominic Cummings, may be on the guillotine. But I'm not even sure that
he's the Svengali.
He's a Svengali behind it, yeah. And I think this is his. I think it's his sort of strategy. It's obviously been approved, but I think the kind of scorched earth policy is very much his approach. You can see his fingerprints over that. So in one sense, it would be logical if he was given the push, because what's happened today is, shows what a disaster, an own goal that strategy was.
And the question comes up again, Duncan, and Boris Johnson's already denied this, that he's lied to the Queen over the whole thing.
Well, I mean, the evidence is that his real reason was not to set up a Queen's speech, but reduce the time available to Parliament to scrutinise governmental action. That's absolutely true. But interestingly, the Supreme Court today did not base the decision of unlawfulness, the finding of unlawfulness, on that basis, which is known as, in legal terms, as improper purpose. They didn't say that he had improper purpose. Why did they not say that? Because they felt they didn't need to, because the basis for the unlawfulness was something different, which was the effect that the suspension, the prorogation had on Parliament. In other words, it ran contrary to parliamentary sovereignty and parliamentary accountability of the executive. And because it did that and had such a severe effect, that then it was found to be unlawful. So I think probably for obvious reasons, they preferred to find the finding unlawful on that basis than the other allegations of improper purpose, lying, etc. But nonetheless, the finding is pretty radical, and the remedy was also extremely surprising, I think, to most commentators, which was a finding that the advice of Boris Johnson to the Queen was unlawful, and therefore that was null and void. But then that meant also the order in council is null and void, and the prorogation has never occurred. And which is why, actually, it's not recalling Parliament, as the Speaker said earlier today, it's just resuming Parliament.
Indeed.
Because, in fact, the decision of the Supreme Court removed that decision. Prorogation never actually occurred.
Indeed. Duncan Fairgrave, well, these are strange times we live in, and thank you for explaining the legalities of what has happened today with that Supreme Court decision that the prorogation of the Parliament in London was illegal. Thank you so very much indeed. Thank you.